Good morning, my name is Jonathan Sweatman. I'm a resident of DeKalb County. I live close to Peachtree DeKalb Airport and I work for Cirrus Aircraft. We manufacture a line of personally flown aircraft, and I also own an aircraft of my own which I base at Peachtree DeKalb, and I've been a pilot and flown out of Peachtree DeKalb for about 30 years now.
What would you say the primary misconception is that the residents may not understand about what the changes that are being proposed?
Yeah, there's a number of key points around that, and I think it's great that we have an opportunity to talk about the misconceptions. First of all, there's a misconception that aircraft are getting larger. That is not true. The reason is that the infrastructure, the runways and the airports are limited. This is not an Atlanta or a Peachtree DeKalb issue. This issue exists all around the country where there are reliever and overflow airports in areas that have built up around them. And remember, the airports were built first. Nobody puts an airport in a residential area. Residential areas build up around airports because of the value that the airport brings to those residents. And so airports are constrained all around the country. As a result, aircraft manufacturers continue to add capabilities to their aircraft, such as range, quieter engines, more fuel-efficient engines, less emissions from the engines, without changing the size of the aircraft, because otherwise it would not be able to get into these airports. And this, again, it's not an Atlanta issue. This exists in all the major cities around the country. So the idea that aircraft are getting larger is completely erroneous. The main runway at Peachtree DeKalb extends from fence to fence, practically. There is no room to expand the runway. There's nowhere for it to go. It cannot get any bigger. There has been no expansion to the length nor the width of the runway, and any work and construction that local residents may have seen recently has simply to do with maintenance on the existing infrastructure. Over time, just like roads or runways at Hartsfield, the concrete requires maintenance and replacement, and that's the work that's been going on to keep the facilities safe. Also, the addition of lighting for increased safety at the airport for pilots operating on the ground and on approach into the airport. So the idea that larger aircraft are coming in is a complete misnomer. The aircraft will have increased range capabilities, but to go with that, they will be quieter and they will burn less gas and they will create less emissions. And that's been going on for decades and decades. So that's the first misconception.
I understand that the runway is 6,000 feet.
Correct.
As it stands now. What size aircraft max could we expect on that type of runway?
You're seeing it today. The maximum size aircraft you're going to see on there are the largest custom-built business jets. Now, just for clarification, both Airbus and Boeing, who we know from commercial aircraft, do make private versions of some of their aircraft. Head of state aircraft, ultra-high net worth individuals own aircraft like that. They do not come into PDK because the runway is not long enough. The runway is not strong enough, it's not thick enough concrete to support the weight of those aircraft, and the taxiways aren't wide enough for the wingspan of those aircraft. So we're not getting what are referred to as BBJs or business jets. Boeing business jets is one brand in. What we see for the largest aircraft are the Gulfstream, Bombardier and Dassault Falcon products, which have not changed in size. And the reason is because most of these types of reliever airports are limited to the length of their runways. And a big selling feature of these aircraft is that they can still get in and out of these fixed length runways. So there will be no expansion in, I cannot possibly imagine an expansion in size of the aircraft coming in and out of PDK, and certainly nothing of a commercial nature.
If the opponents of the change at the airport were to invite you to one of their meetings, would you be open to having that discussion?
Yes, I would. I have been to numerous airport discussions in the past, and I have made informal presentations. I've never been asked to be a keynote speaker, but I've made informal presentations, not dissimilar to what you may have heard me say in the Board of Commissioners chamber today. But yes, I would be prepared to do that, because what's sad is that from listening to the opposition comments today, this misinformation has gotten into the core of their message, and it really doesn't have any bearing on their concerns. Another great example is runway incursions. Runway incursions are surface, on the ground issues, and they are graded in 5 separate degrees of severity by the FAA. And what the FAA does, just like any federal agency, is over time they go after things that they particularly think they can improve safety. For example, rail transportation is always looking at safety at railroad crossings and safety barriers at railroad crossings. It's an ongoing issue for the rail industry. In aviation, runway incursions are things that happen incredibly infrequently, with very, very, very rarely do they lead to an accident or an incident. They are by definition on the ground, not in the air, and they are measured not just on their numerical value, but as a percentage of the operations at that airport. It would be like saying there are more crashes at Spaghetti Junction in Atlanta than any other intersection in Atlanta. Well, it's one of the busiest intersections in Atlanta, so of course you would expect numerically that there would be more incidents there. It's just the same thing. So on a percentage basis, I don't think PDK is any better or any worse than any other airport, and it doesn't affect anybody except those people directly on the ground. So once again, it's a piece of information. It sounds emotive. It's a topic that people get wound up about, but it doesn't have anything to do with noise or pollution or number of operations at any given airport.
Thank you very much.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's easy. Your name is Kurt.